Welcome to the Storyteller. This is not just a video. It's a doorway into a world you were never taught about in school. A world where the loudest man is not the strongest, where the quiet one in the back is usually the one who's already won. Let me ask you something. Have you ever told someone your dream, your idea, your next move, only to watch it crumble shortly after? You felt motivated when you spoke about it. They smiled, maybe clapped, said, "That's amazing." But somehow, days turn into distractions and you never follow through. That's not a coincidence. You see, there's an ancient truth the wise have always known. The more you speak of your plans, the more energy you lose from them. Because every time you announce your journey before it begins, you borrow satisfaction from applause and rob your own soul of the fuel it needs to finish the race. We live in a noisy age. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard, but very few want to be remembered because that requires doing something quietly, consistently, and boldly behind closed doors. This is your invitation to take back control, to shut the door, turn off the noise, and build something in silence so powerful that one day, when the world finally sees it, they won't ask what you were doing, they'll ask how you did it. This story is not about hiding. It's about honoring your mission. It's about understanding that when you protect your focus, you protect your future. So let me tell you a different kind of success story. One that doesn't begin with followers, noise, and praise, but with solitude, stillness, and unshakable belief. The next chapters will guide you through a world most people never see because they're too busy talking. But you're different. You're here. You're listening. And that means you're ready. Let's begin. Chapter 1, The Silent Start. Every unforgettable journey begins with a moment rarely spoken about. Not the cheers, not the trophies, not the snapshots shared on social media, but the stillness, the moment when a choice is quietly made, a promise kept not to the crowd, but to your own heart, in a shadowy corner. A young soul sat alone. His name doesn't matter, because this story isn't just about him. It's about you. He had no followers, no fortune, no spotlight, only a burning vision flickering deep inside him, and a crossroads to face. Keep announcing his dreams, or build them silently away from prying eyes. He chose silence. That night, scribbled on a worn-out scrap of paper, was a vow. I won't share what I'm creating. I'll let my results do the talking. That note never went viral. No likes, no shares, no trending hashtags, but it changed everything because there is unmatched power when you stop defending your vision to the world and start proving it to yourself. From a young age, we're trained to seek approval. Raise your hand, earn the gold star, post a photo, chase the likes. Speak your dreams, wait for the applause. Slowly, without realizing, we build cages made of praise. Prisons forge from others' opinions, and when the time comes to take genuine action, we find ourselves empty, our energy spent on seeking validation, not building. Why the loudest often fall silent. Have you noticed the ones who boast loudly about their projects, only to vanish months later? They rush to announce before they build. Confuse excitement for real achievement, but true progress never claps for you. It doesn't comment or seek attention. Progress is slow, it's often mundane, and always quiet. Yet, in that silence lies a true magic. Protect your early steps. There's holiness in the beginnings. Don't cheapen it by turning it into a show. Treat your dreams like seeds. You don't unearth them daily to impress others. You nurture them in secret. Water them faithfully. Wait patiently for them to blossom. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes your sharpest weapon, while others shout their plans. You quietly move forward, steadily, calmly, relentlessly. The unseen design. Every empire was sketched in secrecy. Every revolution began with a hushed word. Every masterpiece was painted in darkness before it illuminated the world. Your greatest transformations will start this way, but many miss this. When you loudly declare your goals, your brain gifts you a dopamine hit, a fleeting sense of achievement. That's why talking about goals feels good, but it can also be why many stop chasing them. They've enjoyed the illusion of progress without doing the work. Silence is not void, it's power. The quiet you embrace now isn't weakness, it's not hiding, it's sharp focus. It's the fuel for something bigger. It's telling yourself, I don't need their eyes on me yet. I need to grow into someone they can't ignore. Each time you resist the urge to explain, you gather strength. Each secret plan kept close to your heart feeds your dreams with fresh air to grow. Let them speculate. Let them wonder what you're crafting. Let them think you vanished. Let doubts and whispers swirl. While you study, while you hone your skills, while you climb in silence. Because one day, they'll look up and find you already standing at the summit. Not because you promised, but because you delivered. You kept going while they kept talking. This is your beginning. Don't shout out loud. Shape it carefully. Let it flourish in quiet strength. So when the world finally witnesses it, it won't seem like a plan, but destiny. Chapter 2: Why You Should Stay Silent. There's a certain kind of power that doesn't come from shouting across rooftops or sharing every move like a chess player exposing his next play. It's a quiet power, one built in solitude, polished in silence, and revealed only when ready. This chapter is about why staying silent, especially in the early stages, is not just a discipline, it's a strategy, a winning one, the illusion of sharing. You probably felt it before. That sudden rush of motivation when you say, I'm going to start a business, I'm writing a book, I'm hitting the gym every day. You tell your friends, you post about it, you feel good. It's like a mini celebration. The applause comes early, the dopamine kicks in, and in that moment you feel accomplished. But here's the danger. You've just rewarded yourself for something you haven't actually done yet. That's the trap. Because now, the desire to finish weakens. Your brain already thinks you've arrived. This isn't a theory. It's psychology, the science behind staying quiet. Psychologists call it social reality substitution. Your brain, when you share a goal, mistakes the external validation as internal success. You feel satisfied, but it's fake. You've eaten the icing without baking cake. A study published in Psychological Science revealed something wild. People who talked about their intentions were less likely to follow through than those who kept their goals private. Why? Because the act of sharing gives you emotional closure, even when the work hasn't begun. So you feel done before you've even started. But when you stay silent, your brain keeps attention. The gap between where you are and where you want to be remains real. It fuels action. Silence, you see, is not passive. It's active. It keeps you hungry. Attention is addictive. We live in an age of overexposure. Social media is built to reward visibility, not victory. You can be seen by millions without achieving a single thing of substance. And here's the twist. The world will praise your potential louder than your progress. Because potential is dreamy, safe, full of hope. But progress? That's boring. That's behind the scenes. That's quiet. If you seek applause too early, you'll become addicted to looking successful instead of becoming successful. Silent builders versus loud talkers. Look around. The ones talking the most about their grind, their rise, their hustle, often they're still at the starting line. But the true builders, the ones laying bricks at midnight, studying when others sleep, practicing in private, they don't have time to explain. They are too busy becoming. Don't talk about it. Be about it. That's what they live by. You'll know them by their results, not their announcements. Because when you build in silence, your success becomes undeniable. Not because you said so, but because the world can't ignore what you created. Silence builds focus. Every time you tell someone your next move, you open yourself to opinions, to doubt, to unnecessary questions. That noise clutters your clarity. And clarity is everything. When your path is quiet, you walk straighter. When your goals are protected, you move faster. Silence gives you the gift of focus, the rarest currency in a distracted world. Not everyone deserves to know, Here's the hard truth. Not everyone in your life deserves to know your vision, not because they're bad people, but because they weren't given your dream. You were. Some will project their fear onto you. Some will doubt your plan because they can't imagine it for themselves. Some will laugh, not because it's funny, but because they stopped believing in their own dreams long ago. And every time you share your next step, you risk planting seeds of doubt where confidence should grow. That's why silence is your protection, your shield, your wall against energy leaks. You don't need their approval. You need your own belief, the whisper that builds empires. Think of the most powerful people in history: leaders, creators, innovators. They weren't loud in the beginning. They didn't broadcast their every move. Instead, they whispered to themselves, "Let me show them." One day, quietly, that whisper turned into motion. That motion became momentum. And that momentum became legacy. Real ones move in shadows. Do you know what's stronger than telling someone what you're going to do? Doing it, then letting them see it. Fully formed, fully undeniable. Let them ask, "Where have you been?" And you'll smile, not out of arrogance, but peace. Because while they were busy watching the noise, you became the storm. The silent ones don't disappear. They emerge, like lightning, unexpected, blinding. Silence is not secrecy, it's strength. Don't confuse silence with secrecy. Secrecy hides. Silence builds. You're not hiding from the world. You're preparing to meet it at your highest level. And when that moment comes, when your work is ready, the results will speak louder than any words you could have ever posted. So why should you stay silent? Because silence gives you clarity in chaos, focus in a distracted world, energy that doesn't leak, power that compounds, a path free from opinions, a destiny sculpted in peace. In silence, you become your truest self, unaffected, unshaken, unstoppable. They don't need to know what you're doing. They'll find out when it's done. Let them see the finished chapter. You focus on writing the pages in silence. Chapter 3: The Science of the Silent Mind. The world often praises volume, loud opinions, big announcements, dramatic declarations. But science tells us something different. If you really want to do something meaningful, something extraordinary, you don't need to be louder. You need to go deeper. And for that, you need silence. What happens in the brain when you're silent? Let's get something straight. Silence is not emptiness. It's a biological reset. When you eliminate noise, something fascinating happens in your brain. Research shows that moments of silence trigger the growth of new brain cells. A 2013 study in the journal Brain, Structure and Function discovered that 2 hours of silence per day could lead to the development of new cells in the hippocampus, the region of the brain associated with learning, memory, and emotion. Let that sink in. Silence doesn't just calm you, it rewires you. It sharpens your memory. It heightens your awareness. It improves your emotional control. It literally upgrades your mind. Quietly, focus is the superpower of the 21st century. We're drowning in information, notifications, voices, noise. The world is screaming for your attention, but your greatness requires focus. Deep, undistracted, intentional focus. And silence is the path to it. Focus is a new IQ, said Cal Newport, author of Deep Work. The greatest minds in history, Einstein, Tesla, Da Vinci, they weren't just geniuses. They were masters of solitude. They withdrew from the noise of the world, so they could hear their own thoughts echo with clarity. Silence and mental clarity. When you stop sharing your plans, when you shut down the external commentary, your mental clarity increases dramatically. Because every time you say something aloud, you create psychological accountability. It's now a performance. Now you feel the pressure to deliver in front of others. That creates stress, self-doubt, confusion. But in silence, your mind stays clean, your energy stays focused, and most importantly, you remain free from the fear of failure in front of others. The default mode network, your silent genius. There's a part of your brain called the default mode network, DMN. This activates when you're not focused on the outside world. It's your inner workspace. It's where insight happens. It's where creativity brews, where ideas connect. Guess what activates it best? Silence. When you stop inputting noise, your mind begins to output ideas. Real ones, clear ones. This is the reason why your best ideas come. In the shower, on long walks, in the middle of the night, in complete silence, because that's when the brain is finally free to think. High performers use this secret. Look at world-class athletes, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. You'll notice something consistent. They often disappear before their biggest wins. They become ghosts to the world. Invisible, not because they're hiding, but because they're preparing. NBA players go on social media detoxes before the playoffs. Authors vanish for months before dropping bestsellers. CEOs go off-grid before major launches. This is not coincidence. It's neurohygiene, a mental cleanse. They eliminate noise so the mind can operate at full capacity. And guess what? You don't need to be a billionaire to do this. You just need to be disciplined enough to stay quiet. Silence and confidence. The more silent you become, the more your confidence builds. Why? Because confidence isn't loud. It's not shouting, I'm going to do this. Confidence is internal, a calm knowing. And when you stop leaking energy through words, that energy gets redirected into belief. You start trusting yourself. You start building proof for yourself through action, not promises. And when you have internal proof, you don't need external permission. Mental energy is finite. Every word you speak drains a little bit of energy. Every explanation, every update, every justification, it all costs mental fuel. And if you're not careful, you'll spend all your fuel on speaking instead of creating. Think of it like this. You start your day with 100 mental energy points. Each conversation, each distraction, each unnecessary explanation costs you 5, 10, sometimes 20 points. By the time it's time to work, you're already empty. Silence saves energy. Energy builds action. Action builds momentum. And momentum changes everything. The power of observation. Here's another benefit of staying quiet. You become an observer. You start seeing things others miss. You notice patterns. You listen deeper. You understand people better. While others are busy trying to be heard, you're absorbing, analyzing, and learning. And that information becomes power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that leads with wisdom. You move smarter. You speak with intention. You become the calm presence in a world of chaos. The inner conversation. There's something else silence does that no one talks about. It strengthens the conversation you have with yourself. And that's the most important dialogue of your life. When the world gets quiet, your thoughts get louder. That's where you meet your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. But it's also where you meet your dreams, your purpose, your real voice. And if you sit in that silence long enough, you start editing that inner script. You start replacing fear with faith, noise with vision, distraction with direction. You don't need permission to be quiet. The world may ask, why aren't you posting? Why are you so distant? What are you up to? Let them wonder. You owe no one your plans. You don't need to justify your silence. Your work will do the talking. Your growth will answer the questions. Your results will make the noise. The silent mind is a weapon. Let's recap. Silence boosts brain cell growth, activates creative thinking, improves focus, strengthens emotional control, builds inner confidence, protects mental energy, enhances learning and observation, keeps your vision unpolluted. This isn't magic. This is biology. This is psychology. This is power, disguised in quiet. Stay silent not to hide, but to build something worth making noise about. And when it's time, you won't need to say a word. Your work will speak volumes. Chapter 4, The Noise of Validation. There's a sound louder than thunder, more addictive than caffeine, more dangerous than failure. It's the sound of validation. A like, a comment, Oh, wow, that's impressive. You chase it, you crave it, but you don't realize that it's quietly killing your progress. When praise becomes poison, let's be clear, praise feels good. Recognition is encouraging. Support is powerful. But here's where it turns toxic. When you need it to move forward, the moment your actions become dependent on external reactions, you lose your center. Now you're working for applause, not purpose. Now you're posting for claps, not progress. And when the applause fades, so does your motivation. The performance trap, validation is a drug, and like all drugs, it gives you a temporary high, followed by a devastating low. You announce your goals, get praise for just wanting to do something, and then feel paralyzed when it's time to actually execute. Why? Because now you're performing. You're no longer doing it for you. You're doing it for them, for the image, for the brand, for the crowd. And that's when you lose your edge. You start faking progress, pretending to grow, curating a persona instead of becoming a person. You fall into the validation trap. The spotlight steals the soul. Think of your dream as a flame, soft, vulnerable, sacred. Now imagine placing that flame under a spotlight, in front of 1,000 eyes. Before it's ready, it will flicker, shrink, maybe even die. Because dreams are not meant to be exposed too early. They're meant to be protected. But validation forces exposure. It puts you in front of the audience too soon. And instead of growing privately, you start performing publicly. You rehearse lines that aren't yours. You follow trends that aren't you. You sacrifice truth for attention. And one day you wake up exhausted, empty, and disconnected from the dream you once had. False feedback. Here's something most people miss. The internet doesn't give you real feedback. It gives you emotional feedback. When people like what you say, it doesn't mean you're right. It means it made them feel good. And when they ignore it, it doesn't mean you're wrong. It means it didn't trigger dopamine for them. So if you chase validation, you're not chasing truth. You're chasing reaction. And that leads to a distorted sense of self. Now you're adjusting your path based on the applause of people who don't even know where you're headed. Your vision wasn't meant to be voted on. You were given a unique vision, a calling, a path. But every time you expose it too early, you open it up to votes. And let's face it, most people don't vote for what's rare. They vote for what's familiar. If you share something unconventional, they'll discourage you. If you think differently, they'll question you. If you go quiet, they'll assume you're lost. But here's the truth. Most people are too afraid to chase their own dreams, so they mock yours to feel better. That's not your problem. Your job isn't to win their approval. It's to fulfill your purpose. And that purpose was never up for public discussion. Wise silence builds internal validation. The moment you disconnect from a need to be validated, you begin to build something far more powerful. Self-validation. It's quiet. It doesn't come with applause, but it is unshakable. You look at your progress and feel proud, not because someone liked it, but because you know you earned it. That kind of validation can't be taken away. And the more you work in silence, the more your self-validation grows. Each unseen win becomes a brick in your confidence. Each private milestone becomes a seed of resilience. And over time, you become someone who doesn't need noise to feel worthy. You've built your own thunder. Real builders stay quiet. Look at the legends. The greats weren't sharing every step. They didn't tweet their first draft. They didn't post every workout. They didn't ask for permission. They went into isolation, not because they were hiding, but because they were becoming. They knew the cost of early exposure. They knew validation was a trap. They knew their work needed space to breathe. So they walked alone, in silence, with no cheerleaders, no followers, no likes. And when they emerged, the world stood in awe. Because greatness doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself at the right time. Choose the quiet road. You have a choice every single day. Announce your path and seek approval, or walk your path and seek growth. One leads to performance, the other to power. One gives you a moment of recognition. The other gives you a lifetime of mastery. Validation is temporary, but the work you do in silence, that stays. It becomes legacy. It becomes character. It becomes proof, undeniable, unshakable, real. Your worth isn't measured by applause. The world might not see your quiet grind. They might overlook your efforts. They might ignore your journey. But none of that determines your worth. You are not what they praise. You are what you build, and what you build in silence will one day be louder than anything you ever said. Final thought for this chapter. Let others post. Let others perform. Let others seek validation. You? You stay focused. Keep your head down. Let your work rise. And when it's ready, let it speak for you. Because the loudest noise will always come from the quietest preparation. Chapter 5. The Dangers of Oversharing Dreams. Every dream starts as a spark. Small, quiet, delicate. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't demand applause. It lives inside you, fragile at first, strong only when nurtured in silence. But many people make the same mistake. They talk about their dreams too soon, too loudly, too often, and without realizing it, they suffocate that tiny spark before it ever becomes fire. Talking about it feels like doing it. We've all done it. That surge of excitement hits, and you tell your friend, I'm going to start a business, or I'm writing a book, or I'm changing my life. It feels good, like taking a step forward. But science says you're not moving forward at all. You're burning emotional fuel without building real momentum. Words release dopamine. Action builds destiny. And too many words, especially about goals not yet realized, can convince your brain the journey has already started. So it relaxes. You let your guard down. You trick yourself into believing progress is being made. But nothing has changed, except the illusion. Your dream isn't a party trick. Dreams are sacred. They're not conversation starters. They're not meant for everyone's ears. Some people won't understand. Some will pretend to care. Some will act like they support you, but secretly hope you fail. Not out of hate, but because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. And here's the truth. The more people you tell, the more permission you give them to poke holes in what you're building. They'll ask, why that idea? Who do you think you are? Are you sure that's going to work? And slowly, their doubts become your doubts. Not because you're weak, but because your dream was still young, still growing. It wasn't ready for criticism. It needed silence. It needed protection. Oversharing invites undeserved opinions. Every time you tell someone your plan, you open the door to their opinions. And let's be honest, most people don't offer advice based on success. They offer based on fear, limitation, and personal regret. They speak from their wounds, not from wisdom. Yet those words get planted in your mind. And when things get hard, and they will, you remember their doubts before your own reasons. Oversharing your dreams gives people too much power. Power over your confidence, your timing, your momentum. That's not their fault. That's your responsibility. Your silence is your shield. Your boundaries are your walls. Use them. You don't need applause for your dream to be real. Here's something powerful. You can believe in something without announcing it. You don't need likes to make it legitimate. You don't need someone's "that's awesome" to make it possible. Some of the greatest things humanity has ever built started in complete isolation. No followers, no cameras, no one cheering from the sidelines. Just an idea, a heart, a fire that refused to go out. Silence builds integrity. Oversharing isn't just a distraction. It can become a form of lying because you start saying things you haven't done, claiming things you haven't earned, living inside the fantasy of someday without planting the seeds for today. You talk more about what you'll do than what you're actually doing. And eventually that gap grows between the person you say you are and the person you are becoming. That creates inner conflict, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. But when you stop oversharing, you free yourself from that pressure. Now, you don't have to prove anything. You just have to build, one step at a time. One quiet, intentional action after another. That's how real integrity is formed. The weight of premature expectation. Imagine planting a seed and announcing to everyone, this is going to be the tallest tree in the forest. Now everyone's watching, waiting, judging. If the tree takes too long to sprout, they start whispering, maybe it's dead, maybe it's just a weed. Now you feel pressure to speed it up, to fake progress, to prove something. But real growth can't be rushed. Not trees, not people, not purpose. Your dream deserves a freedom to develop naturally. And that only happens when it's hidden, protected, private. Some things lose power when spoken too soon. Not every thought is meant to be said out loud. Some dreams lose strength when shared too early. Because words are not just sounds, they are commitments. And if you speak too soon, you might commit to an identity that isn't ready. You box yourself in. Now you feel like you can't pivot, can't change, can't grow because people are watching. But when you stay quiet, you remain flexible, free, creative. You can evolve your dream without needing to explain every version of it. You can change direction without broadcasting a new announcement. You can succeed without turning your life into a performance. Learn from nature. The caterpillar doesn't tweet its transformation. It doesn't announce to the world, watch me become a butterfly. It enters a cocoon, disappears, breaks down completely, then silently, without approval, it changes. And one day it emerges, beautiful, transformed, unapologetically new. No one clapped, no one liked, but the change was real. You are allowed to disappear while you become. You are allowed to evolve without documenting every second. You are allowed to protect your dream like a sacred treasure, because it is. Silence is strategic. You don't have to share what you're doing. You don't have to tell them what you're building. You don't have to prove you're on the path. Let your actions stay hidden. Let your moves be private. Let your energy be protected. That's not weakness. That's strategy. Because when the time is right, when the dream is ready, the results will speak. And the same people who used to question you will now ask how you did it. You won't need to say a word. Because success doesn't need an announcement. It is the announcement. Oversharing your dreams doesn't make them real. It just makes them public. And the public is not your protector. You are. So stay silent. Stay disciplined. Stay focused. Let the work build in the dark. Let the fire grow quietly. Let the dream take root, far away from applause. Because when it blooms, it will be too big for anyone to ignore. Chapter 6. Let them see results, not promises. Once upon a time, there was a man who never bragged about his dreams. He never said, watch me win. He never posted, big things coming. He simply disappeared. People forgot about him. They laughed. They said he gave up. But one day he returned. He didn't come back with excuses. He came back with results. A thriving business, a changed body, a new mindset, and a peace no one could steal. They asked, how did you do it? He smiled and said, I stopped talking. I started doing. Why promises mean nothing. Every time you say, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to quit smoking, you make a promise to the world. But promises are cheap. Everyone makes them. Few deliver. Because promises don't move mountains. Only work does. And work is done in the dark, when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when no one believes but you. The world doesn't reward intentions. You don't get a medal for thinking about success. You don't get a trophy for planning your future. You get rewarded for one thing only. Dreams are easy. Plans are fun. But execution? That's the lonely road. The road with sweat, silence, and sacrifice. Let others talk about what they're going to do. You go do it. And when it's done, don't even say a word. Just show them. Real confidence doesn't brag. Have you ever noticed something? The loudest people in the room, always flexing, always proving, always talking, are often the most insecure. They need noise to distract from the silence within. But the quiet ones, they know they've done the work. They have the skills, the scars, the receipts. They don't need to announce themselves. Their results speak volumes. The confident don't brag. They build, and when they're ready, they let their results walk into the room first. Work in shadows. Shine in silence. Here's the truth. When you work in silence, you build without pressure. No critics, no commentary, no chaos. You have space to grow, to fail, to learn. And when you finally step out of that shadow, the world won't see the struggle. They'll see the glow. They'll ask, where did this come from? They won't know the nights you stayed up, the pain you swallowed, the fear you fought, the storms you walked through. Quietly, all they'll see is the shine, and they'll never guess what it cost. Action over announcement. There are two types of people. One, those who talk about climbing the mountain. Two, those who climb it. Which one are you? Words are wind. Movement is truth. So the next time you feel like posting a promise, don't. Build instead. Build when no one sees. Build when no one claps. Build when no one believes. And when it's ready, let your work do the talking. Results cannot be ignored. When you succeed silently, there's no need to prove yourself. Because people can't argue with results. They can doubt your dreams. They can mock your vision. They can dismiss your voice. But when the business is running, when the book is published, when your life is transformed, they fall silent because results can't be denied. They can only be respected. Stop explaining. Start earning. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. You're not lazy. You're not lost. You're focused. While others are busy posting proof, you're creating real power. You don't have to justify your discipline. You don't have to prove your progress. One day they'll see, and when they do, you won't need to say, I told you so. Your life will say it for you. Let the world sleep on you. Let them forget you. Let them doubt you. Let them think you failed. That's fine, because while they sleep on you, you're building the very thing they'll one day admire. That's the game. That's the play. Stay under the radar. Stay out of the spotlight until your time comes. And when it does, the same world that ignored you will have no choice but to watch. Because your results will shine louder than your words ever could. Chapter 7. Master the art of the quiet comeback. Sometimes life knocks you down so hard, the world expects you to stay down. They watch. They whisper. They say, maybe this is it. Maybe they're done. But the quiet comeback, that unseen, unheard return, is one of the most powerful forces on earth. Because it's not about noise. It's about resilience. Not about showing off, but about showing up. The strength in silence after failure. Failure is a universal language. We all speak it at some point. But how we respond, that's what separates the quiet warriors from the loud pretenders. When you fail, you don't have to announce it. You don't have to explain the why or the how. You don't owe anyone your excuses. Instead, you retreat into silence. You absorb the lesson. You rebuild the foundation. That quiet rebuilding, it's where true strength is forged. Why a loud comeback falls flat. Ever seen someone fail publicly, then immediately announce their big return? Usually it falls short, because a loud comeback is often a reaction, driven by pride, desperation, or pressure. It's about proving others wrong, not proving yourself right. And when that's the motivation, the comeback is shaky, fragile, short-lived. But the quiet comeback, it's steady, it's deliberate, it's built to last. The quiet comeback is a slow burn. No, one notices the months of work in silence, the days spent learning from mistakes, the nights wrestling with doubt. But that slow burn, it creates depth, it creates wisdom, it creates a foundation unshakable by criticism or failure. When you master the quiet comeback, you transform pain into power, disappointment into discipline, setbacks into setup. Examples from history. Look at the greatest comebacks in history. Nelson Mandela spent decades in prison, silent but unbroken, then emerged to lead a nation. J.K. Rowling faced rejection after rejection, kept writing quietly, and then changed the literary world forever. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, then practiced in silence until he became the GOAT. None of these were loud. They were quiet, patient, focused. How to prepare for your quiet comeback. 1. Accept the fall. Don't run from failure. Face it, own it, learn from it. 2. Step back in silence. Remove yourself from the noise. Stop explaining. Stop performing. 3. Focus on growth. Use the downtime to get better. Skills, mindset, health. 4. Build in private. Let your work speak, not your words. 5. Trust the process. A comeback takes time. Trust the slow grind, the power of resilience. The quiet comeback isn't about speed. It's about persistence. It's about showing the world you didn't quit, even when it looked like you did. Because resilience is louder than any announcement. It's the proof that your story isn't over. It's the promise that you're still writing chapters. When the world sees you again, when you finally step back into the light, the world won't expect much. That's your advantage, because you'll come with new skills, new strength, new confidence. And when your results show up, they'll be undeniable. Your quiet comeback will be a statement louder than any words. Final thought, embrace the quiet power. You don't need to announce your comeback. You don't need to explain your journey. You just need to show up stronger, wiser, and better than ever. Master the art of the quiet comeback. Let the world doubt. Let them forget, because your return will be your loudest message. And the best part? They won't see it coming. Chapter 8. The hidden strength in consistent silence. In a world obsessed with noise, where every moment is shared, every success broadcast, and every struggle posted, there is a hidden power few understand. Consistent silence. This is not silence born out of fear or hiding. It's a deliberate choice, a lifestyle, a weapon. Why consistency matters more than flashy moments. You see, success isn't built on grand announcements. It's built on small, silent actions repeated daily. The person who shouts about their goals one day and disappears the next is forgotten, but the one who works quietly, without the need for approval, without the urge to prove, that person builds something unbreakable. Consistency in silence builds momentum, and momentum builds empires. The quiet power of routine. Every morning you wake up and take one silent step forward. You're investing in your future. That workout, that extra hour of learning, that daily habit nobody sees, that refusal to share every move. It all adds up, because over time, silent routines become unstoppable forces. Guarding your energy. Every time you talk about your progress, you give away energy. Energy that could be used to create, to improve, to grow. Consistent silence helps you protect your energy, your mental fuel for the long journey. Instead of spending your days explaining, you spend your days executing. Trust in the process, not the praise. When you work in silence, you learn to trust the process, not the praise, not the likes, not the noise. You find satisfaction in the small wins no one sees. You celebrate growth internally, and that makes you resilient, because external validation is fleeting, but self-trust lasts forever. How silence builds character. Doing the work quietly tests your commitment. It forces you to develop discipline, patience, humility. When no one is watching and no one is applauding, you're still there, pushing. That's true strength. The impact of silent success. Silent success isn't about hiding. It's about showing up when it matters most. And when you do, your impact is greater because it's unexpected. You don't need to announce your arrival. Your results will do that for you. Consistent silence is the soil where greatness grows. It's the quiet water that nourishes your dreams. It's the calm before the storm of success. Choose silence not as a retreat, but as a strategy, a way to protect your focus, energy, and passion. Because in a world full of noise, the strongest voice is often the one that whispers the loudest. Chapter 9. How to let silence work for you. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it's a powerful tool waiting to be mastered. But how exactly do you make silence your greatest ally? How do you let it work for you, not against you? That's what we're going to explore now. Step 1. Create space for silence. The first step is simple. Make room for silence in your daily life. In a world buzzing with distractions, this takes discipline. Turn off your notifications. Set boundaries on social media. Schedule moments where you are completely alone with your thoughts. Even 5 minutes a day can shift your mindset dramatically. Step 2. Use silence to reflect. Silence gives you clarity. It's the moment where you can pause, look at your actions, and ask the tough questions. What am I really working toward? Am I focusing on what matters? What distractions am I letting steal my energy? Reflection in silence allows you to realign your actions with your purpose. Step 3. Practice listening more, speaking less. One of the most underrated benefits of silence is how it improves your ability to listen. When you speak less, you hear more, you understand deeper, you connect stronger. This strengthens relationships and builds respect, both personally and professionally. Step 4. Use silence to build mental strength. Regular moments of silence train your brain. They increase your ability to focus, reduce stress, enhance creativity. Meditation, deep breathing, or just sitting quietly can help you develop this mental muscle. Step 5. Let your actions speak. When you harness silence, your actions become louder. You stop over-explaining. Stop seeking approval. Stop trying to prove yourself. Instead, you create results that speak for themselves. Step 6. Protect your energy. Silence helps you protect your mental and emotional energy. By not engaging in unnecessary debates, drama, or distractions, you can serve your strength for what truly matters, your growth. Step 7. Use silence to build confidence. Confidence isn't built on noise. It's built on quiet competence. When you know your work and your worth internally, you don't need to shout it from the rooftops. That inner confidence shines in everything you do. Let silence be your secret weapon. Create space for it. Use it to reflect, listen, and build strength. And when the time comes, your actions will roar louder than any words ever could. Chapter 10. Celebrate small wins, build big victories. Success is not a single giant leap. It's a series of small steps, quiet victories, and unseen progress. Yet, many overlook the power of celebrating small wins. They wait for the big moment, the grand achievement, the thunderous applause. But the truth? Big victories are built on the foundation of many small ones. Why small wins matter? Every small win you celebrate builds confidence, creates momentum, reinforces positive habits, keeps motivation alive. Ignoring them leads to burnout, frustration, and loss of direction. The psychology behind celebration. When you acknowledge progress, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical that motivates you to keep going. Celebrating small wins is like fueling your internal engine. It keeps you energized and focused on your path. How to recognize small wins. Small wins can be anything. Completing a workout, finishing a chapter, making a difficult phone call, saying no to a distraction. They might seem minor, but collectively they shape your future. Building consistency through celebration. Acknowledging small progress keeps you consistent. Consistency is the real key to long-term success. And celebrating small wins helps you stay consistent. Avoid waiting for perfection. Don't delay your celebration, waiting for the perfect moment. Perfect doesn't exist. Progress does. Celebrate your progress, even if it's imperfect, even if it's messy. Small wins lead to big victories, like drops of water carving canyons. Small wins accumulate into massive success. Each win builds your story, a story of persistence, focus, and growth. Practical ways to celebrate. Keep a journal of daily wins. Share your progress with a trusted friend. Treat yourself to a small reward. Take a moment to reflect and feel proud. Never underestimate the power of small wins. Celebrate them quietly. Celebrate them consistently. Because these small victories are the stepping stones to your greatest achievements. Chapter 11. The importance of patience. In a world that moves at the speed of light, patience feels like a forgotten virtue. We want instant results, quick fixes, overnight success. But here's the truth. Patience is a foundation of lasting success. Why patience matters. Patience allows growth to happen naturally. It gives time for skills to develop, for relationships to deepen, for visions to become reality. Without patience, you risk rushing, making mistakes, and burning out. The growth process takes time. Think about a tree. It doesn't sprout overnight. It starts as a seed, then pushes roots deep into the earth, grows slowly, facing storms and seasons. Success is the same. It requires time to grow strong. Patience builds resilience. Waiting isn't passive, it's active endurance. When you practice patience, you build resilience, the ability to keep going despite challenges. Avoiding the trap of impatience. Impatience leads to frustration, poor decisions, and quitting too soon. Recognize when you're feeling rushed. Take a breath. Remember why you started. Patience and faith. Patience is also about faith. Believing in your journey even when you can't see the outcome. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Real life stories of patience. Many successful people faced years of waiting before their breakthrough. Thomas Edison tried thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. J.K. Rowling struggled for years before Harry Potter was published. They succeeded because they were patient. How to cultivate patience. Practice mindfulness. Set realistic expectations. Focus on the present moment. Celebrate small progress, as we learned earlier. Patience is a quiet force that carries you through the storm. Master patience, and you master the art of enduring success. Chapter 12. Surround yourself with winners. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's a simple truth, but a powerful one. If you want to rise, if you want to succeed, if you want to grow, you must choose your circle wisely. Why your circle matters. The people around you influence your mindset, habits, and motivation. Surrounding yourself with winners means you're constantly inspired, challenged, and supported. Winners inspire growth. Winners don't just celebrate their success, they encourage yours. They push you to level up. They hold you accountable. They share wisdom and energy. Avoid negative influences. Negative people drain your energy, kill your confidence, and sabotage your goals. Limit time with naysayers, critics, and energy vampires. How to find winners. Look for people who are positive and supportive, have a growth mindset, demonstrate discipline and resilience, share similar goals and values. Building your winning network. Attend events, join groups, and connect online with like-minded individuals. Create relationships that motivate and uplift you. Give as much as you take. Successful relationships are reciprocal. Offer support, encouragement, and value to your circle. The power of mentors. Find mentors who've been where you want to go. Learn from their experience and guidance. Your environment shapes your destiny. Choose to surround yourself with winners and watch how your life transforms. Chapter 13. Master your mindset. Everything begins in the mind. Your mindset shapes your reality, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Master your mindset, and you master your life. What is mindset? Mindset is the lens through which you view the world, the beliefs and attitudes that drive your thoughts and actions. There are 2 main types. Fixed mindset, believing your abilities are static. Growth mindset, believing your abilities can be developed. Why growth mindset matters. With a growth mindset, failures become lessons. Challenges become opportunities. Effort becomes the path to mastery. This mindset fuels persistence and resilience. How to cultivate a growth mindset. Embrace challenges. Learn from criticism. Celebrate effort over talent. Keep pushing outside your comfort zone. The power of positive self-talk. What you say to yourself matters. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Turn "it's too hard" into "it's worth it." Your inner dialogue shapes your confidence and actions. Visualize success. See your goals clearly in your mind. Visualization primes your brain to take action and boosts motivation. Overcome limiting beliefs. Identify beliefs holding you back. Question their truth. Replace them with empowering beliefs. Daily mindset practices, meditation or mindfulness, affirmations, journaling your wins and lessons. Your mindset is your most valuable tool. Master it, and you'll unlock doors you never thought possible. Chapter 14. Take action, even when scared. Fear. It creeps in silently, uninvited yet ever present. It whispers doubts, paints worst case scenarios, and builds walls of hesitation around your dreams. But here's the secret: fear is not the enemy, inaction is. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who merely dream is the courage to move forward, despite trembling knees and racing hearts. The paralyzing power of fear. Fear has a unique way of freezing us in place. It disguises itself as protection, a voice saying, "Stay safe, don't risk failure." But in reality, it's a thief stealing time, energy, and opportunity. The paradox is that the longer you wait, the louder fear gets, and the harder it becomes to act. Why feeling fear is natural and necessary? Fear is a primal survival mechanism. It alerts us to potential danger. It keeps us alive. But in the realm of growth, fear signals that you're stepping outside your comfort zone, into the unknown where transformation lives. If you never feel afraid, you're likely not pushing hard enough. The courage to start before fear disappears. Many wait for fear to vanish before taking a step. But here's the truth: fear rarely disappears completely. Real courage is acting in spite of fear, not because you feel fearless. It's choosing to move forward, even when your mind screams, "Stop." Stories of fear-fueled action. Consider the artist who painted despite harsh criticism, the entrepreneur who launched a business despite financial uncertainty, the speaker who faced an audience with a pounding heart. Each was scared. Each took action anyway. Their bravery wasn't the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. How to harness fear as fuel. 1. Acknowledge the fear. Don't bury it. Name it. Understand its source. 2. Reframe the narrative. Replace "I'm scared" with "I'm excited to grow." 3. Break down the action. Small steps reduce overwhelm and build momentum. 4. Prepare and plan. Preparation calms nerves and boosts confidence. 5. Visualize success. Picture yourself succeeding despite fear. The ripple effect of brave action. Taking action when scared creates a powerful ripple. It builds self-trust. It expands your comfort zone. It proves to your mind and body that you are stronger than your fears. With each brave step, fear loses its grip. What if you fail? Failure isn't the end. It's feedback. It's a sign you tried. It's a lesson. The scarier thought is never trying at all. Practical tips to act through fear. Start with the smallest step possible. Use affirmations: "I am capable." Surround yourself with supporters. Reflect on past successes. Fear will visit often, but you don't have to let it stay. Take action, even if your hands shake, even if your voice wavers. Because on the other side of fear lies the life you're meant to live. Chapter 15. Embrace failure as feedback. Failure. The word itself sends chills down many spines. It's often seen as a final verdict, the end of the road. But what if failure is not your enemy, but your greatest teacher? What if every setback, every misstep, every no is a vital piece of the puzzle that guides you closer to your true success? Redefining failure. The world conditions us to fear failure. It's framed as something shameful, something to avoid at all costs. But failure is simply an event, not a permanent state. It's a signal, a message, a feedback loop from life, telling you what's working and what's not. Why failure is necessary. Growth and failure are inseparable twins. Without failure, there's no learning, no innovation, no breakthrough. Every great achievement, every invention, every masterpiece was built on a foundation of multiple failures. The stories of failure that led to success. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." J.K. Rowling faced countless rejections before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Walt Disney was told he lacked creativity, yet he created an empire. They all viewed failure not as defeat, but as data. How to shift your perspective on failure. 1. See failure as information, not identity. Failing at a task doesn't mean you are a failure. 2. Separate your worth from your results. You are more than your successes or setbacks. 3. Ask, what can I learn? Instead of why me? Using failure to pivot and improve. When a strategy doesn't work, failure signals it's time to adapt. Pivot. Try a new approach. Failure can redirect you from dead ends toward more fruitful paths. Failure builds resilience and character. Repeated setbacks build grit. They deepen patience. They cultivate humility. Over time, failure strengthens your inner resolve and prepares you for lasting success. How to respond to failure. Reflect honestly on what happened. Identify lessons without blame. Adjust your approach. Keep moving forward. Overcoming the fear of failure. Fear of failure often paralyzes us before we even begin. Remember, doing nothing guarantees no success. Taking imperfect action opens doors. Embrace failure as your fiercest mentor. Welcome it, learn from it, and let it propel you, because the path to victory is paved with lessons learned in failure's classroom. As we come to the end of this journey, remember this: the path to true success isn't paved with noise or applause. It's built in the quiet moments, the unseen struggles, the silent victories that only you know. When you choose to focus in silence, you protect your energy, you guard your dreams, and you sharpen your craft without distraction. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your hustle. You don't need approval to keep going. Your work, your results, will be your loudest statement. And when the time is right, when your efforts have ripened into undeniable success, the world will notice, not because you shouted, but because you showed up time and again with unwavering commitment. So, never tell people what you do. Instead, let your actions speak. Let your growth be your message, and let your victories be your voice. Stay patient. Stay disciplined. Stay silent, because the quietest ones often win the greatest battles. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Storyteller. For more stories that inspire, empower, and transform, remember, your silence today is the power of your triumph tomorrow. Until next time, keep building quietly and let your success do all the talking.